Alright, this is a review of the Baladeo Papagayo. Should be a short one, there's not a lot to talk about with it. I did feel the need to spine whack test this one because it is a very cheap knife. I paid $8 on Blade HQ for it in 2020, but usually it sells for around $15. It's a lockback with this piece of rubber that covers the lock bar, which actually really does make it quite a bit more comfortable to use a lock bar over and over a lot of times. I've seen this on an old Kershaw design. They don't make it anymore, and as far as I know, they're the only ones who do this where the rubber comes over the lock bar, but I'm sure there could be some out there that have that, but it is a really nice feature to have on a lock bar. But when I did spine whack test it, it did consistently fail it. So this is not something I would use for heavier duty use because you could end up cutting yourself pretty bad. So I would just keep that in mind. It did come with a very nice factory edge. It's a hollow grind. So it kind of, if you know what a hollow grind is, the edge kind of curves down towards it on both sides in this direction, and it makes it super thin behind the edge, which is really nice. I like a knife that's very slicey, that makes them about as usable as you can get, but for harder use stuff, it makes them a little delicate, but especially with a naturally thin edge angle. So, and this one has a softer steel, so you can probably see in the light, it rolls quite a bit. It's a very soft steel, it rolls consistently, but it's a 420 steel, which is, I would say, in this day and age, I'm not sure that it's even worth your time to go for the softer steels like that, unless you're on a very constrained budget. But it does strop up or steel up or hone back very easily. You really don't even use it. You really, or at least I haven't, needed to sharpen it very often. I kind of just steel it back, and it pretty much is back to how it was out of the box. It has a non-captured pivot, so the two-sided pivot is, I would say that's almost a deal breaker, because every time I would open the knife, the pivot would spin and loosen on this side, so it consistently gets loose. There's no blade play now, but, well, there's a little bit now, and if I, even just testing the blade play, I would be loosening the pivot, which is really annoying. So I actually kept this one in my lunchbox most of the time, and I did have to use it once or twice to open a can because I forgot to bring a can to work that had a pull tab on it. And it actually, for such a soft steel and a hollow grind edge, it actually cut through the can quite well. It didn't completely destroy the edge, although it did roll it pretty bad and it almost looked like chips, but it wasn't. It actually stropped back just fine, or steeled back rather, pretty good. So I gave it to, I'm reading my notes here, sorry. I gave it to a guy at work, it's his now pretty much, and he actually dropped it from waist height and snapped the tip. I am going to reprofile it for him, just so that it can be used, to stab things at work again, which we sometimes have to do. Let me find where I'm at in my notes. You can open it one-handed, but it does not feel safe. You kind of have to concentrate on what you're doing to keep, because if you go and push the blade, it will cut. You have to push, down here to open it. And then obviously, you can do the old school shut it one-handed thing like that, but it requires some concentration that you don't always want to have to do, especially because I need to pull my knife out at work over and over, open it, use it, close it, open it, use it, close it. And so something like that can get annoying. It's not efficient, and, if it was in the knife reviewer thing seems to always be talking about tackle boxes. If you're a fisherman, and you just need to cut some line every now and again, it'll be all right. But I just, we'll keep going. But so also it has this symmetrical shape, like perfectly symmetrical almost, except for the blade. So when you're not looking at the knife, when you open it, if you leave it open and you're using it and you didn't look at it while you use it, you can actually go to cut with the back of the blade, the spine, which also is kind of dangerous because it does fail the spine whack test. But it'll get caught in the material because it's not it's not an edge, it's not sharp. So then you have to like remember to flip it around and use the knife side. It sounds like a stupid complaint, but I promise you, it happened to me a lot. And the guy I gave it to, it consistently happens to him. You have to kind of pay attention to which, if you sit it down and you pick it back up, you have to remember to kind of look at it and find the side that has the edge, because you can't tell just by the shape of the handle. So as much as I like the symmetrical handles, I've learned that in use they are kind of annoying in that way. It's very, very light. I don't see the point of weighing it. You can see the specs on Blade HQ, which is where I bought it. If you have an appreciation for ounces or something, you know offhand how that feels. But it's very light. There's really nothing to this knife, but which also makes it feel not very strong. But it is very light. You can carry it in your shorts or a shirt pocket, like, without a belt or anything. It's not going to weigh anything down. You can kind of carry it anywhere and not really notice that you have it. This rubber handle I like a lot. It holds up really well, actually. I've carried it quite a bit, and it, even with the key, I carry this in the pocket with my keys, and the keys haven't completely eaten through it or destroyed it, which is something that a lot of people say happens to this soft rubber material. I'm sure there's some kind of steel under there. Yeah, you can see actually. It's got nested liners in there. Overall, yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up. I don't really have much more to say about it. I was just reading my notes to verify it before I end the video. Overall, I would say for $8, it's not bad, but the materials are pretty soft. The construction is strange with the non-captured pivot, and being a lockback, it's not super practical this day and age. I would say I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend getting a higher quality tool that will last a lot longer. In general, if you can, I would always recommend that, because I almost immediately gave it away. As much as I like knives, I just don't know. There's not a lot of use for me for this. You're looking at it and you say, like, I see a use case for that. Just keep in mind that the blade still is very soft. The handle construction is very, very cheap, and it does kind of come apart if you open it enough. Even when you Loctite it or tighten it back, every time I open it, that screw will spin to the left, which is literally disassembling the knife. But it seems to be working for the guy I gave it to. He didn't have a knife, now he has a knife. So I guess for that, it is good. If you have a kid, you want to give them their first knife, I could see that, because they're just going to lose it anyways. But overall, I would say I don't recommend it. Just get a higher quality tool if you can. If you can't, this isn't the worst thing on earth for $8 on sale. I would really not recommend paying the $15 that they charge for this normally, but you do what you do. So thanks for watching.